Erling Haaland is the most physically imposing striker in modern football. His reputation is built on raw power, explosive speed, and an uncanny sense for the goal. But the data reveals a hidden layer to his success. Before receiving the ball, Haaland scans the environment 0.35 to 0.50 times every second, a rate significantly higher than the average Premier League striker. In sports science, this is visual scanning. It is a deliberate head movement that pulls the player's focus away from the ball to update their mental map of teammates and opponents. This behavior falls under the umbrella of perceptual cognitive skills, the mental processes required to perceive environmental cues and select the appropriate physical response. While elite clubs track every kilometer run and every tactical shift, they rarely measure these cognitive traits with the same technical rigor applied to physical fitness. This creates a strange paradox. High scanning rates correlate with forward pass completion and spatial awareness, yet coaches rarely include it in practice because it's often viewed as an unteachable instinct. The difficulty lies in isolation. In a chaotic 11 versus 11 match, it is nearly impossible to control every variable to measure a single player's visual tracking efficiency. To bridge this gap, a 2024 longitudinal study from the University of Groningen followed 35 elite youth academy players through a series of controlled experiments. The researchers aimed to prove that perceptual cognitive skills could be actively manipulated and improved using VR. They placed the participants in a first-person VR simulation, where each player was assigned the specific tactical role of a central midfielder. The experiment focused on two specific results: the accuracy of the player's passing decisions and the reaction time required to make them. The 2024 results suggest that reaction time responds directly to environmental cues, positioning visual exploration as a coachable athletic mechanic. The experiment utilized James Gibson's foundational theory of ecological psychology to define how players interact with their surroundings. Gibson's central concept is affordances, the specific opportunities for action that appear and disappear as the environment changes. For a midfielder, an affordance is a progressive passing lane. These are fleeting gaps that may only exist for a few frames of play before a defender closes the space. Each VR trial included a 5-second movement phase. Virtual players would shift and make runs, opening and closing these temporary passing affordances in real time. This diagram illustrates the tactical map the players had to process from their first-person perspective. When the 5-second movement phase ends, 4 specific passing options, labeled A through D, appear above teammates on the field. This standardization isolates the spatial puzzle, ensuring every player faces the same tactical problem within the same time window. To test the impact of scanning, the researchers had to find a way to force players to look over their shoulders without telling them to do so. The control group started their scenarios in this position, already facing the opponent's goal with the ball at their feet. In this setup, every passing affordance develops directly within the player's forward field of view, meaning there is no tactical incentive to rotate their head. The intervention group started facing backward to receive an incoming pass. As the ball travels toward them, the teammates they need to pass to move behind them. Players are forced to break visual contact with the ball to find an opening. This spatial setup acts as the independent variable. It effectively pulls the player's focus away from the ball and mandates the use of scanning mechanics. To confirm the efficacy of the setup, the researchers used a zonal division system to measure the depth of every head movement. This diagram defines 3 zones of visual exploration. Zone 1 represents the forward field of view. Zone 2 covers peripheral checks out to 90 degrees. The critical metric is a Zone 3 scan, a deep rotation turning the player entirely away from the ball. The manipulation check was conclusive. 95% of scans in the intervention group reached Zone 3, while only 9% of the control group scans reached that same depth. The data proves that environmental orientation is the primary driver of visual exploration depth. With the scanning behavior isolated and verified, the study analyzed how this forced exploration affected the 2 key variables of accuracy and speed. This chart tracks the accuracy scores for both groups from the pre-test to the post-test. The results show a nearly horizontal trajectory for both groups. Neither the control nor the intervention group saw a significant increase in their ability to choose the right pass. This is a ceiling effect. These are elite academy players who are already trained to identify the correct teammate with nearly 90% accuracy, leaving little room for statistical improvement. However, when we look at reaction time, the data reveals a clear divergence. The intervention group improved their reaction time by 1.1 seconds, a significantly steeper drop than the 0.7 seconds achieved by the control group. While simply using VR improves speed through familiarity, the act of deep visual scanning creates a measurable acceleration in the decision-making process of elite players. Why does a deep Zone 3 scan reduce reaction time by over a full second? The answer lies in perception-action coupling. Without prior scanning, a player can only begin to process the tactical map once the ball arrives. This creates an information bottleneck at the most critical moment of the play. A deep scan allows the player to construct their map of affordances during the anticipatory phase. By the time the ball reaches them, the cognitive work is already done. This finding is vital for modern football, where physical exertion and scheduling intensity are at an all-time high. Traditional physical conditioning has reached its limit, and players are facing rising injury rates as they push toward their cardiovascular peaks. VR offers a path to isolate and train cognitive load and reaction speed without adding to a player's physical and muscular burden. It turns game vision into a distinct performance lever that operates independently of a player's cardiovascular limit.